Okay, hey there guys, it's me, Dirt Muffin here. I've been putting this off long enough tonight. Okay, so I'm gonna be reading a different fan fiction tonight. It's good to be back, by the way. Thank you guys for sticking around when I'm gone. My nose is a bit stuffy, so please forgive that. Um, Gah. I'm gonna be reading The Golden Armor by Comet Burst. It's around 28 chapters, I think. Yeah, 28 chapters, total of 64,000 words, around 26 to 2,400 words per chapter. Yeah, and then there's the second part, but we'll talk about that later. We'll get there when we get there. Yeah. So in any case, let's get started. Being recruited. The Golden Armor. Chapter 1. The sun hung high in a cloudless sky above Canterlot as ponies below lived their daily lives. Stores had their doors wide open and the best displays in the windows, hoping desperately to draw a customer or two, 3 if they were lucky. Ponies of all shapes and sizes trotted about the cobblestone streets, some stopping to gaze at windows, some arguing with food stall owners about the price of cucumbers, and the occasional one with a shopping bag. It was a world a pony could easily get lost in. One stall vendor sighed heavily as yet another nameless pony bypassed his stand. The pony that walked by had saddlebags on his hindquarters that looked packed. His wings were tightly pressed against the sides, and he gazed up at the building's facades, hoping to find a sign or something to lead him where he was going. He had a pale ochre coat and fiery red eyes that glanced about under his mane of dark brown. It stood up in odd angles, giving him an almost feral look, but he patiently made his way through the city. Where's that recruitment station? He said aloud, frustrated. Canterlot was a huge city, much bigger than his native San Francisco. Good God. And 3 times as crowded. Every building looked the same, and the roads never stayed in a straight line. Finally tired, the orange stallion took a detour through an alleyway between a furniture shop and a main salon. The crowd noise quieted down as he sat down on his haunches. Turning into his saddlebags, the Pegasus pulled out a folded piece of parchment, which unfolded was a map of Canterlot. He studied the map for a few seconds before rustling from the alley caught his attention. Curious, he looked up, but saw nothing. Returning his attention to the map, he got a few more seconds of concentration and before hearing the rustling again. Drawing his attention a second time, the orange Pegasus scanned the alley. Noting there were several doors, 2 dumpsters, and 4 windows looking down at the alley. He shrugged again and returned to the map for a brief second before being tackled. The stallion yelped in surprise, then tumbled to his right. Trying not to land on his wing, he landed with a hard flump and took a second to gain his composure. Hysterical cackling came from his left, where he was tackled from, and the figure pushed itself off of him and fell over backwards, laughing to itself. The orange stallion righted himself and cast a mean glare to the figure laughing at him. It was a dark-colored Pegasus with... Wait. Bat wings? He murmured to himself, as he noticed her teeth and mane. She had fangs instead of canines like normal ponies, and her mane was rather short and colored midnight blue. The pony rolled around twice on the ground, still laughing, till the Pegasus said something. Do you mind? He grumbled to the pony. The pony finally started to calm down, but still laughed as one eye half opened. Your face! It's priceless! The pony exclaimed as it continued laughing. The ochre Pegasus contorted his face into something of a scowl before retrieving his map and said, "Well, if you'll excuse me." The laughing pony finally calmed to the point of standing up, before he walked away and said, "Oh, come on, it was just a bit of fun." The stallion didn't even look back as he said, "Fun for you, maybe, but not for me." He heard a sucking of teeth, and the pony said, No pony wants to have fun here. Okay, look, I'm sorry, but you were asking for it. If I was a mugger, you wouldn't have stood a chance, so consider it a lesson. By now, the stallion had assumed the pony was a mare due to her voice, but still turned to face her. Oh, well, thank you. I'll be sure to keep that in mind, he said in his best sarcasm. The dark-colored pony marched up to him and stuck her face in his, clearly not happy. She had golden eyes with slits for pupils instead of dots, and she huffed at him. You know, the least you could do is thank me for real, she said. The Pegasus stallion narrowed his eyes at her and said, So you're demanding a thank you? I could get you arrested for this. Her eyes widened slightly, but she kept her angry stare. You wouldn't and couldn't. There was no pony who saw me tackle you, she said and grinned slightly to him. Besides, you wouldn't tattle on an adorable mare now, would you? The stallion narrowed his gaze and even further and said, Give me a reason not to. Mara inched her face closer and moved to his right, towards his ear, and whispered, Because you got tackled by one. The stallion's face turned red as the mare started laughing again. Finally irritated, the stallion turned and started walking off when he heard hoofbeats follow him. Come on, don't be such a stick in the mud, the mare called as she followed him, much to his irritation. She ran up next to him and said, Hey, just calm down. I'm sorry for tackling you, alright? The Pegasus snorted and kept walking as she continued. Can you at least tell me your name? Mine's Angel. Angel Beats. She trotted in front of him, blocking the exit from the alley, and extended a hoof to the orange Pegasus. She put on her best sincere smile and hoped that he would at least be friendly as well. The Pegasus considered for a second and reached out with his own hoof cautiously. Comet burst, he said in a matter-of-fact tone. She gingerly shook her hoof and was suddenly hugged. He gingerly shook her hoof and was suddenly hugged by her. Yay! A new friend! She said, while at the same time squeezing the air from his lungs. Comet frantically pried himself from her grip and furrowed his brow. We are not friends, he said, plainly, as she giggled. Oh, are you embarrassed to be hugged by a pretty mare? Comet stuck a hoof to his forehead and said, No, but you're not going to hug me like that. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to find the recruitment center. He spread his wings and nearly jumped when Angel squealed. You're going into the guard too? She asked excitedly, and Comet froze. What do you mean by two? She asked, and she beamed at him. What do I mean? I'm joining the guard too, she said with a happy ring. Comet tilted his head and said, Sorry, but I think they want real guards. He took off as she cried, What's that supposed to mean? Spreading her bat wings, Angel leaped into the air and pursued the orange Pegasus. The sun did hurt her eyes, and she was a bat pony and was used to flying at night. But the common pony misconception was that bat ponies were purely nocturnal, which, while it was true that they functioned better at night, bat ponies could go out in day like any other normal pony. Angel stayed back from Comet a bit to let him lead her to the recruitment station as well, since she had no idea where it was. It took them the better part of half an hour, but eventually Comet stood outside a gray stone building with a plaque facing the street saying, Royal Guard Recruitment Center, number 4. Comet took a deep breath and trotted inside. The building inside was unremarkable except for the large posters of Princess Celestia and Princess Luna on the far wall, and a desk placed in front of them. The guard sitting there had his head pressed against the desk and snored loudly, echoing through the entire room. Comet gave the guard an unsure look before walking up to the desk. Before he could wake the guard, a voice from behind him shouted, So this is the place! Comet spun around to see the annoying bat pony at the door, looking around in wonder at the room. At the desk, the guard woke instantly and sat straight up, ignoring the pool of drool on the desk. This is the Center for Royal Guard Recruitment, he spoke, not seeming to notice the two ponies. We do not sell food, we do not pet sit, and our restrooms are not for public use. He sat as straight as he could for 3 seconds, leaving the Pegasus and bat pony to stare at him. The guard finally blinked a couple times and noticed the two. Oh, are you here to sign up? he asked casually. The orange pony responded, yes? The bat pony burst out laughing again, and the guard adjusted his helmet. Well then, excellent. You are about to undertake the most important journey of your life and enter the service into the service of their royal highnesses, Princess Celestia and Luna, the guard said before leaning over and looking at the bat pony. Is she with you? He asked. Comet flushed. That would be a no, he said flatly as she walked over. Oh, don't act like that, sweetie. What about all those nights you and I spent together? And when you proposed, she said to Comet, and his jaw stiffened. The guard pony narrowed his eyes, too, and said, It is highly against regulation for both recruits to have romantic relationships prior to entering the guard. Comet made a face that was somewhere between a scowl and a grimace and said, We are most definitely not a couple. The guard tilted his head, but Angel burst out laughing at his face. As she laughed, the guard caught on and said, Right. Well, here in the guard, we expect the utmost effort from all of our recruits to make the guard as honorable as possible. He rustled around the desk and produced 2 packets of paper. Take these and fill it out entirely, then bring it back to me, he said, handing Comet a packet. Angel finally finished her laughing and fit and took the other one. The packet was fairly simple, with the first page being personal information questions, but the next page was all about ethics. Comet scrawled on the parchment with a quill that he kept in his saddlebags, but Angel scratched her head and she read the test. The question she was stuck on was, How long do you wait to interrupt the theft in progress? And there are 4 answers, ranging from ignore it to stop it immediately. She leaned over to Comet and tried to sneak a glance at his test to see what he put, but Comet moved to block her sight. The guard was still rummaging around at his desk, and Angel tried to remove Comet's hoof. Comet pushed her hoof away and wrote more furiously on his test. Angel tried again, and Comet let out a loud sigh and refused to move his hoof. Angel smiled to herself since she knew he was getting annoyed and whispered, Hey, what did you put for number 12? Comet totally turned her head and stared. She offered him a sweet grin and he said, Are you really trying to cheat on an ethics test? The guard's head snapped up to them, but he slammed his nose on his desk. A colorful series of words escaped his lips as he rubbed his nose. Angel fell over laughing. Comet ignored the incident, and the guard grumbled. The next 30 minutes passed without incident, luckily for Comet, and the 2 ponies finished their respective packets. The guard took them and asked them to sit for a bit while he reviewed them. Comet sat as far away from Angel as he possibly could, which was only 3 chairs away. He still sat as still as he could with his eyes forward, unlike the fidgeting Angel who had found interest in the noises her hooves make when they tapped against the wall. It was an attempt to annoy Comet, but the rigid demeanor prevented even a little emotion from exiting him. Angel decided that she was bored and hopped down from her chair and trotted over to Comet. You know, you don't have to sit like that, she said to him. Comet's eyes refused to even twitch as she tried to get his attention. Hello, Equestrian Comet, she called and waved her hooves in front of his face. His gaze didn't move, so Angel tried something more cunning. More cunning ways to pester him. She blew in his face, ruffled his mane, and extended his wings and pretended to make them fly. Even shook her flank at him, but Comet refused to even blink. Wearing her pouting face, Angel sat on the ground in front of Comet, stumped. The guard reviewing their tests thought the whole ordeal was rather funny and found it hard to concentrate on the exams. Angel thought it for a few moments and finally had an idea. She messed up her mane, gave Comet her best bedroom eyes, and slinked up to him. She gently rubbed his forelegs and slowly nuzzled his neck, but Comet's gaze didn't even twitch. Just so you know, she whispered to him, I have a huge thing for guards, ponies, and armor. She saw his pupils expand and retract, and she knew she had his attention. Angel decided to turn up the pheromones and gave her a little purr. She rubbed her nose on his neck and felt him tense up a bit more. Clearly, he was forcing himself to ignore her, but that made her even more determined to get a response from him. She then decided to move her host from her forelegs down to his back and gently massaged just above where his wings were located, the tensest and the most sensitive muscles on his back. She felt a slight shiver run down his back and leaned over his ear, and leaned in over his ears and whispered, "Gotcha." He let out a huge sigh and shook her hooves off of him. She saw his face for a split second, but noticed it was red as his eyes. She laughed and fell back into the chair on his opposite side. Comet sulked. He was determined to ignore her, but she had gotten the better of him. Although he would never say it out loud, though he had admitted to herself that he rather liked the massage she gave him. Finally, the guard called them both over. Once they arrived, the guard's pony said, "Congratulations are in order for the two of you. You both have been accepted in the Royal Guard. If you will come with me, we will finish some paperwork and you'll be off the basic training, cadets." He gave him a salute, and Comet returned it crisply, while Angel did so in her carefree manner. That is the end of chapter 1. So, thank you guys for sticking with me again, and I do appreciate it all. So, yeah, hopefully I can get more things out sooner or later, but as I've said, I will probably be putting up 4 chapters tonight, maybe more, if I feel like it, because I'm really interested in the story. But in any case, thank you guys for watching. Please leave a comment down below, and yeah,